Hello, Amin. How you doing?
Good. Hi, Afshin. Thanks. How are you?
Good. Thank you very much. So, thank you very much for agreeing to be my guest in this episode. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you. Thank you. So, why not just start by introducing yourself and tell us about your, PhD program and, what your project was about and what you're doing right now, like as professional career.
Sure. Yeah. To everyone who doesn't know me, I'm Amin Ghassemi. PhD, PhD holder in Canada. My background, bachelor and master was focused on water engineering, hydro structures. It was one sector in agricultural engineering back home in Iran. And For my PhD, I moved to Canada to doing my civil engineering, environmental fluid mechanics study at Queen's University. And My master's thesis was focused on sediment transport, which was more related to river engineering field of work. But for my PhD, I changed the discipline and work on coastal engineering. It's still sediment transport, but in coastal engineering area, which was a big challenge for me. And after graduation, I started working in consulting environment. My main focus was on as a water resources engineer and working on mining projects mostly. And then after a couple of years, I changed the company, and now still I'm working as a water resource engineer, but it's including river engineering projects as well as mining and also piping related projects. So I try to check any areas that there is water available. So whenever you find water, I try to find a project related to that. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. So, what was your transition from academia to your first role at WSP like? So, did you
Yeah.
face any challenges transitioning from academia to your first non-academic job?
Of course, yeah, it was a big challenge for me because I had very limited experience in industry back home in Iran. It was only for some summer intern projects. But here in Canada, at the beginning, I was a bit thinking more about academia role in the future. But after a while, I got more interested into the industry. I was thinking about that before doing my bachelor's, but when I came to Canada to do my PhD, I was thinking about some academic role. But after a while, when I saw the job opportunities and some futures in Canada, I decided to move on consulting engineering. And for that, but
Mhm.
yeah, I faced a lot of challenges because I haven't studied well a lot about what would be the consulting world, specifically in Canada, and what are the companies. I didn't know the name of the companies that are active in Canada. So the big challenge for me was getting to know people, getting to know the companies, their field area of work, and that's why we have seen at the end the job that I found was related to mining projects. So that I had no background, I have no idea about what's the mining engineering, what's happening in the mines. So I started to learn at the same time learning about the mining sector and also my knowledge application in that area.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Uh, did your supervisor or your research team during your PhD program have any partnership with industry by any chance, or you
No,
didn't have
no,
such
no, I
opportunity?
didn't have such opportunity. Yeah, I didn't
Mm.
get any opportunity to find and some internship projects during my PhD. I had no connections because my supervisor, he was a very knowledgeable person, but he was mostly focused on theory, not that much connection to the industry world.
Mm.
And so yeah, for me, I find the opportunity mostly with my friends that I got get to know them during my PhD study. I got some friends, some people who graduated sooner than me or before me. I kept my connection with them and keep asking about their experiences in the industry. And for example, for my CV preparation, for job application, for all of them, I get some feedback from them. So they were my main networking or support for finding the position.
So did they become your referrals
Uh,
during your transition
yeah,
or?
some of them, yes, they were very kind with me and they referred me. But finally, at the end, the job that I got, it wasn't from that channel. I found someone in LinkedIn. I reached out to some people from LinkedIn profile, and they supported me and they introduced me to someone who were in the HR position in the company, and then I got the position.
So cold outreach, basically, right? Someone
Exactly.
you didn't
Yeah.
know previously. And how
Exactly. Yeah.
supportive they were? You said they supported you eventually, but because we have built this community, we call it like
Mhm.
PhD Genius, right? To
Yes.
talk about these like nuances, right? The challenges people face. Because, for example, if I have a challenge, finding a job as a PhD, I think that I'm alone in this journey. While it's
Mhm.
not the case, right? Because a lot of people, have the same problem or they face the same sort
Of
of
course.
like challenges, right? So we're
Yeah.
gonna like dive a little bit deeper into
Mhm.
these like nuances and challenges and problems and issues PhDs may face because some of them are perceived. I mean, PhDs are perceived like overqualified, or they're
Of course.
perceived
Yeah. They
as
are.
like academic people who have no knowledge of
Mhm.
like industry and stuff like that. So so one of the aspects or important aspects of having this community for PhDs is exactly that. So can we dive a little bit deeper into that
Mhm.
networking
Sure.
process you went through and cold outreach, which is very important. A lot of people are shy to reach out to other
Exactly.
people,
I
right?
was too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, could you please just like elaborate on that part a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. Because at the time that I was looking for a job, when I get close to my graduation time, it was in the second year of after COVID. So I have experienced all my, for example, my roommates or my friends. I found that during the COVID time, they faced a lot of challenges to find a job because during that time there was no events, no place for them to be present in person and introduce themselves. So they had to use some networks in online version. So at the time, I learned that okay, I need to update my LinkedIn profile. I learned
Mm.
that experience from them. They told me, I mean, update your LinkedIn profile, and start connecting with people, even if you don't know them. From it doesn't matter at what level they are. You don't need to just reach out to the CEO of that company. You need to reach out to any person from that company and ask them for some feedback. They helped me to prepare a message to introduce myself very concisely because sometimes when you're PhD, you try to express yourself in a very long passage, try to talk about the stuff that people in industry are not that much interested, to be honest, to know about that much details. So they told me, don't go to the details about your thesis, just be in a broad picture, talk about that, what your experiences, what your skills, and prepare a very concise message, send to them because if they see a long essay on their message on the link, they don't look at it. So make it short. And then they helped me to prepare my CV. I prepared my first draft and sent it to a lot of people that I have known, and they were very kind to me. They put some feedbacks on that, and some of them help me to edit how to edit them, or not using some pre-developed versions. They said, okay, if they found that they are AI version, or if they are not in a well structured, nowadays HRs are using some engine motor to search about parameters in your CV, and if they don't find it, they will put your CV away. So you should structure it in a proper way. And after that, I start sending message to the people. Some of them for sure, they don't even open my message. That you should be ready for that. After a lot of failure, if some people just at the moment told me that, sorry, we are not looking for any new member in our team, or they said, okay, we will came back to you, but they never come back to me and never message me again. But there are some other people who helped me. For example, they forwarded me my CV to someone else in their team and follow up on that. And after a time, I need to follow up. I should be that much, sit back away and say that, okay, they will reach out to me. They will find me. They are looking for someone like me. They should definitely we appreciate if I reach out to them. It's not like that. You should be proactive. You should reach out to the people. You should follow up and be ready to say no for so many times. And I went to the interview for my first interview where they sent me the job description. I was like, oh, come on, that job is ready for me. They just needed just didn't mention Amin in their profile. That they're looking for me, but it was a big no from there because I wasn't ready enough for that interview. So yeah, I said it was trial and error. I tried to learn by keep talking to my friends. That's a big point. I think everyone who are at that situation try to reach out to any people that you know, even someone that you think that there's no benefit by keeping connection to that specific person. At that specific person can do something for you at the time that you haven't expected that. So it's a small world, so you will see a lot of people in your future job searching. So expanding your network, asking for feedbacks, don't be shy, talk to them, follow up, and then at the moment a door will be open for you. That's it.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. So persistency matters, right? You have to be
Of course,
persistent,
yeah,
right? So because you reach out to 100 people and
more than that.
99 of them say no, but you need just one yes to
One
succeed,
yes,
right? So but you need to keep pushing, right? So that's
of course.
awesome. Thank you. So you mentioned something about the interview process, and
Mhm.
you said that you have had some like unsuccessful interviews.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
how did you adapt? How did you learn about the process of doing a proper interview? What tools, techniques did you learn in that process? Can you elaborate on that part a little bit?
Sure. At the time I try to search about that. If you Google it, you will find a lot of resources. Even
Mhm,
nowadays, by having those AI engine like ChatGPT or any other
mhm,
sources, you can get some feedback, at least prepare for that situation. And then I try to reach out to the people who already have a job, or even if when I see their profile, they have changed their company a couple of times. So definitely
mhm,
that guy, at least for those times he or she had interviewed. So I try to reach out to them, asking for some feedbacks. I learned, for example, for some of on sexual one, I haven't researched enough about the company that I'm applying for. So I just take a
mhm,
look at the title of that job I apply, and then when they ask for my interview, so I said, okay, I will talk about that topic. It's easy peasy, but it wasn't like that. So the
mhm,
person I should have studied better about that company before, about the role. I should have been prepared to ask some questions from them. Because when they tell me, okay, do you have any question from us? At the first time I said, no, I'm okay. So it's not good. It's a red flag for them. So I should have some questions to
mhm,
ask from them. I should have thought about that. I also about some parts that is very challenging is about the salary talking, when you are talking about the money, you should be very, careful about that topic. For one of my interviews, I mentioned a salary base that it was out of their, budget. I was very thinking that having a PhD would be a super, you know, a special situation that they should pay more, but it's not like that when you're on not that level. Nobody care about that, to be honest. So yeah, you should be ready for that. You should know how to speak with them, how to follow the conversation. If they're asking about your experiences, you shouldn't never ever you shouldn't bluff about your experiences. Don't expand it too much to say that, okay, no, that's my expertise. But the guy start asking you about some details, and of course an experienced person can, after a couple of questions, can realize if you're lying about your experience or you're true about what you're mentioning in your CV. So that's some experiences that some of them I learned by bad experiences or bad interviews, but most of them I learned from my friends, as they told me, okay, be ready to ask these questions from them, or this is the topic that they are very interested to hear from you. So yeah, I try to, but after a while, I learned how to deal at the interviews.
Okay, what's your favorite question for the hiring manager or the hiring team? What was your, do you remember? So what
Yeah,
questions you
one
asked
of them
them?
that I always ask about them is asking about how are they going to evaluate my performance in their company.
Mhm.
Say that, okay, because at the end of the day, I want to, if I'm looking for a raise or looking for, level change, how do you check my performance and how you're collecting feedbacks?
Awesome. Do you know what my favorite question is?
But
Who would not be a good person or candidate for this role? And always shocks them. It's a very like a shocking
I
question
shocked.
because they don't expect that question at all.
Yes. Yeah.
More than 90% of the cases. Okay, thank you very much. So you kindly also participated in the survey that I sent you. So you know that you did
Yes.
a
Yes.
survey for PhDs. So a lot of participants and respondents said that, they had, different answers for how their PhD program prepared them for their first role.
Mhm.
So maybe in that line, so did your PhD prepare you for the very first role you had at WSP, or moderately, extremely, or not at all? Like as I put it in the survey, and you saw the question actually.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's a
our
broad
audience can
question.
learn more about
Yeah.
that part. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a broad question because if I want to just mention one word, it will be moderately, because
Mhm.
yeah, the area that I started working, it was very different
Mhm.
about the discipline or the area of work was very different. But from my PhD, I gained some skills that helped me for my job, because of course when you're most of your time you were in the academia environment, you are not that much familiar with industry world and you don't know their language at the beginning. It's completely different environment and different culture. But some experiences, like for example, presentation skills, that I practiced them a lot during my PhD, joining to the conferences, presenting my thesis, something like that. I experienced that a lot. And writing skills, the type of the language of writing is different, but at least doing your PhD by writing papers and your thesis, you learn how to structure your paper, or in the future at work your report. So, and also some softwares, or at the most important, if I forget, it's what critical thinking. That's that's something that really helped me, that I practiced that a lot during my PhD. So that helped me a lot for get on track faster in industry. So that helped me a lot to learn the language sooner, and also understand what are the style of working there, and if I need to design something, how I can gather information from different sources that I want. So there are the things that help me. But if you want to specifically say that, okay, you learn uh, a specific type of designing during your PhD and you're doing exactly the same thing at work, no, it wasn't the case for me. But yeah, those soft skills, yeah, they helped me a lot.
Yeah, soft skills, exactly. So the main reason for, job rejection in most cases is the lack of soft skills that,
Yes,
with PhDs, because we're very technical people, right? So because that's what academia expects us to do, to do research,
exactly.
as you mentioned, to write papers, to write theses, sometimes attend conferences, but we all speak the same language, right? When we get out of the academia um, in the real world, right,
Yes.
outside
Yeah.
academia, so we face a lot of things that are very different than
Of
academic
course.
environment, and this is one of the reasons that the main reason actually why we created this community for PhDs to talk about these things, because uh, the main problem is that PhDs wait until they graduate and then they start to figure out the route and the journey
Mhm.
into non-academic environment, right? Because they're too busy just doing the research, writing a paper. Some universities have, like, as you know, like publication uh, so I have to say mandates and things like that, obligations that you
Mhm.
have to publish like 3, 4 papers in order to graduate, for example. So but we miss out on the point that, in order to transition to non-academic jobs, we have to start building the skills before graduation, right?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
until you graduate, you are on a salary basically, right? On a scholarship or things like that. But after you graduate, everything is gone. Unless you get a postdoc, for example, or research associate
Yes,
job immediately. And some PhDs don't even have that possibility after graduation. So they end up, with no salary and no income. And then, that transition period takes time. For example, some people 1 year, maybe 2 years sometimes,
exactly. Yeah,
right? So the main thing that we are going to push in this community is that be prepared,
of
right?
course. Yes.
Be prepared before you face the reality of the hardships and
Mhm.
difficulties and the challenges that you will face eventually after graduation. So you want to push that mindset, bring more PhD candidates into the community alongside PhDs, I mean professionals like yourself, to understand these things properly, to talk about, to open up these conversations and be prepared, right?
Yes.
So, and I
Okay.
truly appreciate you sharing your experiences with us in this episode.
No, it's my
Thank you.
pleasure.
So, and so you basically touched on this, but is there anything about like your preparedness for the first job, for your first non-academic role after
Mhm.
graduation? So, what if you went back, for example, what would you do differently, right, before graduation? As
Mhm.
I mentioned, what skills or tools and techniques would you learn in order to like have a successful transition into non-academic jobs? So what would you do?
That's a bit hard because for me, things happen in a way that it was not that much expected to be in this area of work in the future.
Hmm.
I haven't expected that to go into the mining sector. So if I have known that I'm going to in that area, definitely the first thing is to study more about them, to know the concept, know the type of jobs, and
Hmm.
try to learn more about different skills that related to that specific job. But generally, I think when you start interviewing for different or applying for different positions, you don't know what you finally end up. So you are trying based on your resume, based on your background, you need to
Hmm.
apply for most related job opening to your situation, but you will end up at that situation. You cannot wait until the moment exact job opening based on one line by line based on your CV to find a job for that. So at some point you may need to change a bit your direction. So that's something unexpected part. But in general, my suggestion is that if I were in 2019 or 2020 again, I would definitely search more about different companies. I would start expanding my network earlier, especially during the time. I remember we had some openings, industrial opening days at the university, at Queen's University. So that was a great opportunity to get to know different companies, build up my connections, and
Hmm.
also expanding my network by finding some more friends at the university. Because the more people you know, the more resources you have to
Hmm.
work on your future. And also, the other thing is that searching more about the softwares that they
Hmm.
are mostly, most of the companies they are using them for their projects. In my
Hmm.
work, for example, I also was one of the TA for one of those softwares at the university, but the type of work that I have done during my classes was completely different from what now I'm doing in a job. So if I knew that that software is that much important, I would definitely, for example, put more time on that or search more or do
Hmm.
some training before doing my free time now. Because when you're a PhD student, sometimes you have free time to work on something else. So I would definitely use that to
Hmm.
pass some training, getting some licenses more related to my work, and not waiting for all of them come to me at the in a short time at work and finally face that the reality. Oh, I don't know that software. I don't know how. For example, one thing that I faced, it was at the beginning, it sounds very silly, but it was how to deal with Excel spreadsheets. You know,
Hmm.
they build up micro. I don't know. It has a lot of functions that, for me, I never use them because I never deal with a big spreadsheet with lots of data.
Hmm.
So for me, it was very easy thing. I use the basic coding at Excel, but now I need to work on. So if I knew that, definitely I pass some courses for that. stuff like that.
Mhm. Awesome, thank you. And actually, it was going to be my next question and asking about
Mm,
softwares and new tools and techniques that you touched on. Thank you. And the other thing, I'm very curious about your previous role and current role as a consultant or technical consultant. So do you deal with like business people as well? So who are the stakeholders, for example, in
mhm,
your like uh, in your working environment and and clients, for example? How do you deal with like non-technical people? So what tools and techniques are typically required? What did you learn in your non-academic roles compared
mhm.
to PhD? So let's look at this problem from this perspective as well. So we
Okay,
touched on
from
it
there.
from the PhD perspective, but let's talk
Mhm.
about the current role and the previous role that you had. So can you tell us more about that part?
Sure. Yeah, that's a very good question. Thanks. Yeah, that part is something, of course, after you start working, you face that a lot. And for PhD students, as I have lots of PhD students at the company as well, and we all face that situation a lot, is that in the industry, it's not that much, people are not that much into theory because we as a PhD holder, we love theory, we love going to the details or background behind some formulas. Most in the industry, they don't care about that. They need the results. So, and as you mentioned, touch on that, when you're dealing with a client, at my current role, I'm an intermediate engineer. So I have some meetings and dealing with the client directly. And most of them, they have no background in engineering. So you need
Mhm.
to talk to them in a plain language. You need to, for example, for me, I need to design a channel or design a hierarchy structure, and I need to show them the results. So they don't know what's the mining equations application here, what's if the
Mhm.
flow is supercritical or subcritical. For some people who are not in this area, they don't understand what I'm talking about. So I
Mhm.
need to make it in a plain language for them, and at the end, they are care about the money, how much they need to pay for that and the deadline for the project. So that's completely different board. And you need to learn to express it in a way that everyone outside of your field of work should understand it. Because for us doing the PhD study, you were, even if you go to the conferences or when you were presenting, people in front of you, they're expert in that area. So you're very easily discussing about the details about your work. But in the industry, it's completely different. So that's one of the big challenges you face for sure. Even with your colleagues, sometimes you need to, at the PhD, you're dealing with your supervisor, so who is definitely knowledgeable person than you, and they have a lot of background in the area that you're talking about, and they can direct you. But in the industry, you sometimes you need to talk with your colleagues who are junior at a lower level than you. You need to teach them, or if they are seniors, they don't care about a lot of details. You need to make them simple in a short meeting. You need to just deliver the message and talk to them. Okay, that's the process. That's the results by now. And you should prepare some results. For my supervisor, sometimes I say, okay, after 2 weeks, I'm still working on that. So you cannot say
Mhm.
that much in industry. I'm working on it. Okay, you have a deadline. You have the budget. You need to meet that. You need to mention for that amount of hours that you work, what did you do? And what is the result, and if you don't have results, what is your plan now? And that's something that if I want to not go very broad, you know industry is very fast moving stuff, and money and time is matters a lot that we haven't experienced that much during our PhD study. For example, for me, if one test doesn't work well, okay, I will redo that. And my graduation date is September. Okay, now it's October. Now it's December. Now it's next year. You can postpone your graduation date, and as long as actually your supervisor is happy, so you can postpone it, but in industry, it's not like that. Now you have a specific timeline. You need to meet that, and you should find a solution by that thing. So that's one
Mhm.
thing that I face a lot about this area, and it's completely different. And even in your reports, when for your thesis and your papers, it's for example, IS or journal papers, when you're writing, you
Mhm.
use a very technical language, but in industry, when you're preparing a report or technical memo, it should be completely on the other side. It should be
Mhm.
very simple language. You need to make it short, not going to that much details. Of course, you need to express the details because you're at the end, you need to sign it and stamp it. But the level of details are completely different, and you should learn that. Uh, when I was writing my first report, the senior engineer who were talking to me said, "I mean, it's too much. What you're talking about? You're mentioning so many details. It's not like that. It should be simple, direct, and in a short time. You don't have that much time for you to make 10 times of revision like ISI journals." So,
Mhm. No, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. No, this what you mentioned is extremely important. Basically, one of the biggest complaints that uh, industry has about PhDs is time management. Because as you mentioned, so in academia we have plenty of time, right? So and we don't have very like tight deadlines, so to speak, right?
yes.
Uh, you can maneuver around like project and the components of the project. You can deal with your supervisor, and they are typically very lenient about
And even
deadlines and
changing the
stuff.
scope of your project.
Changing
If
the scope, exactly. Sometimes you're like 2, 3 years into your PhD and your project changes all of a sudden,
exactly,
right?
yeah.
So, so exactly. So that's very important because what you mentioned is extremely important for PhDs, especially PhD students, to understand how critical thinking, as you mentioned, communication skills, presentation skills, brevity, as you mentioned, conciseness is important for transition. And these are the questions that are typically asked during the interview process. These are all soft skills, as you precisely mentioned. So let's delve a little bit deeper into that critical thinking. Okay,
Mhm.
so what I'm trying to do in this community, and you and other people will see, the members will see, is that I'm trying to build a course around critical thinking, but not in a very like generic manner. So I'm going to
Mhm.
look deep into each sector, for example, industry, consulting, government, right? Nonprofits, financial institutions. These are the sectors that PhDs can find their jobs in, right? So, but since you are here and you are a consultant or technical consultant or engineering consultant, can you tell us about your specific sector, your consulting career, what critical thinking typically entails in your sector? Can you tell us more about that? If you, briefly can touch on that, that would be very, very valuable.
Sure, sure. I need to think about that a bit. Okay, about the critical thinking example that I can say is that, yeah, at the end, you need to solve a problem.
Mhm,
It's that in between consulting and academia, that's the same thing. There's a problem.
mhm,
I need to find a solution or finding the details about that problem to
mhm,
hopefully in the future find a solution for
mhm,
that. So in consulting, there is a practical situation, and the client, they hired you, they give you that project to find a solution for that. So you need
mhm,
to at the end you need to find a solution for it. You cannot say, "Oh, we don't know anything about that," or "Let's think about that for a long time." In a timeline, you need to find the solution, and
mhm,
the critical thinking comes in the first row because you need to research from different resources, asking help from experienced people because you don't have that much time to do all the research all by yourself.
mhm,
So one thing before I forget, one thing that you need to practice a lot in consulting, which is not that case in academia that much, is team working. Because in
mhm,
academia, in PhD study, you have your direct supervisor at maximum, you have a co-supervisor and you have two very knowledgeable person and you're dealing with each other. But in industry, you have a broad range of seniors, intermediates, juniors, and principal engineers, and you need to work with all of them in a team. So if you need to find yourself in the place in your right place, and you need to keep your connect with all of them, expanding your network, and learn to how to deal with each and every person specifically, because each person has their own the style of work, has their own attitude, has their own knowledge and expertise, and you need to learn how for each specific type of problem who is the best first of contact for me. Okay, if I have problem in that area, I should reach out to that person because I don't have that much time. I need to find an answer very quickly. So I
Mm,
need to know how to first search by myself, which is PhD holders definitely
mm,
are valuable in that area. So they know how to research, do the research. So they should bring that skills in action. So you should do your research and you should reach out to the experienced person
mm,
and then collecting all the feedbacks and mix them together, use your critical thinking skills and find a solution. And the best solution in the industry is the cost effective and fast solution. So in our academia, we are sometimes looking for some brilliant idea, something, very complex application or something very super innovative. But in industry, it's not always like that. Maybe the simplest or the most approachable, method or
mm,
even an old method would be the best answer. You don't need to do some magic or you don't need to do something very
mm,
specific. In a short time, because I faced such a situation in one of my projects. I was searching for very advanced materials, said, oh, that's a very good something. It just introduced last year and people are still using that. I was in background, I was very happy that I come up with an innovative idea and they're gonna be very appreciated about that. But the guy told me, okay, I mean, why not? We are not using that material, that old one. So that's easy, that's cheap, and we are using that. Why we should go for something very complex and new that doesn't have that much background? So I said, okay, that's the lesson for me. Now, you
mm,
sometimes the easiest and the cheapest approach is the best one. So and
mm.
all of them should happen in a short time. But that's the critical thinking that I can answer for now. But yeah, if I remember something else, I will share it too. But yeah,
Oh, thank you. That's awesome. So as consultants, basically, you guys may have like some repository as well. So you're learning from past projects or the problems that have happened in the past, and you can just take a look at those documents that, may have been created for other similar clients, and then you
exactly.
can somehow, learn what the best approach would be. But it's very important because timeliness is very important, right? Rather than looking for something like fancy as a solution as you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yes,
with something simpler but at the same time saving time, right? And lowering the cost of
of
coming
course,
up
yes.
with a solution, proper solution, which is very important in consulting as you mentioned. So that's awesome. So you also mentioned something about teamwork and working with junior staff and senior colleagues. So what's the difference basically? So and again, as you mentioned, in PhDs work in silos in academia. The
Exactly.
direct report, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
is the
Exactly.
basically the
Supervisor.
supervisor only. You may have some, like random collaboration with other team members because typically the projects are separate. The thesis titles are separate, but with some overlap in some teams.
Exactly.
But typically, you're put on a specific project, right? But in industries, it is different, as you mentioned. And so, can you elaborate on the teamwork process? For example, conflict resolution, because conflicts are inevitable, right, in working environment. That's one thing. And before I forget, so I assume you faced some like culture shock as well, which can go, hand in hand with the earlier question, teamwork, working with senior and junior colleagues, and project management skills and stuff like that. Can you elaborate on that part a little bit? What are the like differences between academia and non-academic environments in that regard?
Oh, sorry. If I understand your question right, you are talking about the culture shock between industry and
The culture shock, because you come out of academia
Mhm.
and you face a new environment, right? You deal with like business people, as you mentioned. So culture shock in terms of you kind of like touched on that part actually. Is
Yeah,
being brief, being concise, not getting into too much technical stuff. Coming up with something like simple and less expensive, right? But in terms of saving time and stuff, dealing with colleagues, non-academic people, non-technical people. So what else can you like add with that for that part actually, in terms of teamwork, in terms of, for example, conflict resolution? How do you deal
Mhm.
with, for example, conflicts if you face any in your, I mean, it can be your previous role.
For
We
sure.
don't we don't we
Yeah.
don't want anything confidential, of course, but some generic like advice that PhDs can hear from you, right,
Mhm.
and learn
For sure.
in their
Thanks.
job. Yeah.
Yeah. I think about team working, what I can say is that, of course, yes, you have to learn to work with other people. Because I say, yeah, for the, as you mentioned, during your PhD study, you're alone. You're the main person of that project, and you're doing almost whatever you want. And at the end, you're responsible for that to do the defense. And if the
Right.
defense doesn't go that much well, it's okay, at the as
You
if
can
they
handle it basically.
exactly, and
Yeah.
if they accept it, at the end you're the PhD holder. So no
Mhm.
one gonna reject your PhD. It's very rare situation that if
Yeah.
someone completely rejected. But at work it's very different because you are part of a team and you need to work with all based on your level. You have different responsibilities and you should almost work with everyone on that team and help each others to progress the project in a time and
Mhm.
budget. So in that case, you have to sometimes, if for example, for myself, as I'm an intermediate engineer, so I have some juniors who are supporting me. So I need
Mhm.
to delegate some tasks to them. If it is needed, I should teach them how to do that. I should monitor them, follow up with them, and at the end, review their work and prepare those stuff to be finally reviewed by a senior engineer and then deliver it to the client. So that's
Mhm.
something process, and each person is are in one position in this role. And so I have my responsibility. Sometimes, yeah, for me, I said, okay, if I want to do that by myself, it's gonna be faster. Why I should, you know, ask someone else, and it would be a pain for me, to just monitor them, to just deal with them. And if the person is fast learner or not, I should, or if they have background or not. Sometimes it's very easy, sometimes it's challenging. So, but at the end, you should learn to do that. You should delegate your task. You cannot handle all things by yourself because you think that you can do that better than others, or you think that it's going to be faster. No, you should do that because your charging code is different from the other guy. So you need to learn how to teach them, how to supervise them, how to monitor them, how to review them. And also you need to send your work to someone else to be reviewed, and you should answer them. And you need to answer the question, and then you send it to the senior. That senior guy gonna question you. So you should learn how to deal with that senior, how to answer the questions in a timely manner. And then that person, you keep changing. I'm working one day with one junior, the other with another one, and they are different. And you should be adapted to that new environment for each
Mhm.
and every project. For your PhD study, you for at least for 4 years, you're dealing with one person. That guy rarely gonna be changed in some special circumstances. That person could change, but generally, you are dealing with at least two or three specific persons to the end of your
Mhm.
journey. So you after a while you will learn how to deal with them. But in industry, these people are keep changing. Your client keep changing. Some clients are very helpful. They are very kind. They have a good background about you, and it's very easy to deal with them. Some clients are very picky. Some of them are very tough. You need to and I have some experience in some meetings. They were very rough with us. They were very using F words a lot, and they were not happy. Sometimes they are not happy, and in some other meetings, everyone were very happy. Everyone things very going very well. So you experience so many different even in one day. One meeting for 1 hour, everything is good. The next 1 hour, everything is bad. So you need to change your mood, keep changing. You need to keep changing with different people, and sometimes, as you said, one thing that I have faced from some of PhD holders, whatever you're doing for your PhD during academia, you take all the credits for that because it's you. If it's a good paper, if it's a very well-known thesis, all the credits goes to you. But in the project, that credit distributed with everyone, and you should sometimes you should cover for some other engineers. And sometimes you think that, oh, I have done a lot, but nobody, realized my input to that project. But you need to get to use that. Sometimes it's happened, and you always need to focus on progressing the project and working as a team all together. We have a very talented person in your team. We have some people with less skills or less talent, but all of them all together should work. So you need to find yourself in a team, not looking for credit just for yourself or saying that, okay, yeah, I'm the one that doing all the things, or I'm doing good and the other one is not working. If the other person doesn't work well, if that's a junior, you are the responsibility to help them, to teach them, to bring them up in your team, not putting them away or say, okay, yeah, let's leave that person alone and I do all the things by myself. Sometimes it's challenging, it's very hard. And if someone is not working well or intentionally, there is some, I don't know how to explain that in a plain word, maybe not the same of, I don't want to say the jealousy, but sometimes you see that the conflict or some people are not a
Of course.
good relation with you, but you need to learn to deal with them. It's not easy that way. Say, okay, no, I'm not working with that guy. I don't want to work on that project. You accepted responsibility. You have to work there. You have to finish this project. You have to deal with that person. Of course, you have a lot of resources like HR, your seniors, your supervisor, project manager. Everyone try to help you to make a good situation for you or solve the issues if there is something raised up. But at the end, you need to learn to work with others. You cannot work alone in the industry.
Mhm.
And even for the client, at the end, you need to satisfy your client. If it's a good person, if it's a bad person, if it is a rough, if it's using effort a lot or not, you need to satisfy them because at the end you are sending the bill and you will be paid for that. So that's
Exactly.
industry. Yeah,
No, that's exactly because at the end of the day, that's the client that pays you, right?
exactly.
So they
Yeah.
pay and they have the right to, uh, receive uh, the deliverables that they expected, right? When signing the contract, right? So
Absolutely.
that's good. So we're heading towards the end of the conversation, but uh, we would like our audience also hear about the job titles in each
Mhm.
industry where our interviewees are currently working. For example, you're working in technical engineering consultant capacity. So what are typical roles and responsibilities in your sector? So for example, what are these like job titles, for example, or teams like business, technical, maybe legal, and things like that, maybe customer facing departments and stuff like that. What are these roles that, just our PhD community can hear about and then, they can search for or they can, delve into to prepare themselves for, possibly for those roles.
Sure. Yeah, actually, for the roles, definitely each company have their technical team, and you, for us, if you're getting a PhD in engineering, definitely you will find people who has some. I don't know. It is a bit hard to explain, but it you have some leveling in the companies. As I mentioned, the
Mhm.
juniors, intermediate, seniors, principal, some such a
Right.
leveling in each department. And then for each role, they have different responsibilities. And for our case, I think most of the challenging that PhD holders, when they are looking for a job, they are misunderstand that. They don't understand, okay, what position I should apply for. And some people are a bit overestimating about themselves, say that, okay, I have a PhD holder and I have this number of years of experience, so I should apply directly for the senior position, something like that. And they always keep rejecting because definitely as long as you don't have enough industrial background, you cannot apply
Mhm.
for higher positions. And some of them are underestimating themselves and applying for positions that they are super overqualified for them. So you should find yourself. That's for each and every person is different because some people have some background of industry, maybe before their PhD they have some experiences. Some people don't. For example, for me, I consider myself as don't have any consulting engineering experience when I was applying. So what I got, I was a junior position. So
Mhm.
of course, and when I joined, I realized, okay, I'm very good in some stuff, and I have no experience in some areas. So
Mhm.
maybe at some levels, I see myself at the same level as intermediate engineers, but at some other level, I said, okay, no, I have done this stuff, and as long as I don't gain those skills, I cannot move to intermediate. It was sometimes tough, and that's something that most of PhD holders, when they join the company, but mostly they gonna be hired as a junior engineer, and they find themselves, they feel a bit depressed and find themselves, oh, they were underestimating us. I shouldn't be at that level, at the level that I'm working now. Uh, just newly graduate engineers from bachelor's degree, they are at the same level as well. Why I should be at the same level as them?
Mhm.
So be ready for that situation, and don't think that's discrimination. It's not. And because you have to learn some skills and then get progress, and that progression going to be faster for you. Don't worry about that. At least first 2 years,
Mhm.
it was very tough. I had such a feeling my first 2 years. All my friends who had PhD in during the first 2 years, they have such a feeling because you after a while you face the reality and say that, okay, I was prepared for different type of works. For
Mhm.
the whole years doing my PhD, I was preparing for academia work, not for the industry work. So to understand, to learn the language of industry, I need time. And during that time, I should deal with the situation. I should gain those experiences. I should learn how to do the teamwork. And after a while, I can shine brighter in the future. So you, I just want to mention that when you're applying for a job, don't go, for example, for a position very low, because sometimes they already know they are overqualified, but they don't know what's the minimum they should apply for. But I have received a lot of messages in LinkedIn from some newly graduated or close to be graduated from PhD, and they said, okay, we are applying for a job. And do you think that could you please refer me for this position? And I said, dude, it's not a good position for you. That's, for example,
Mhm.
that role is very below your skills. So you should
Mhm.
apply for this position. Or something, oh guy, man, it's over. You're not that much qualification for that position. It's higher for you. So that's the thing that, after a while you will learn, that you will face. And by connecting to the people that they are currently working in the industry that you're studying now, you will get some info about that. So that's why the networking is very important. Reach out to them, ask your questions, and definitely there are a lot of people who are very kind, and they will answer you. They will, give you some feedbacks. And for preparing your resume, or when you're applying for a job, they will be happy to be your referral in the company.
Mhm. No, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. No, you mentioned very, very important points, actually. So one of the things that, is not very clear to many, many PhDs is this path actually, and the types of jobs, as you mentioned, because they have never been exposed to those types of
Exactly.
job positions. So they have no way of knowing that. And currently there is no like support, or, the, the programs, for example, the universities and institutions provide
Definitely.
to PhDs, have been proven to be largely ineffective, unfortunately, based
Of
on,
course. It is.
many studies and, publications. And this is a very global problem. It's not just,
No,
for
no.
Canada where we are, but everywhere. And also the survey results prove that, these programs need to be improved. But I want to end the conversation by saying this actually. We are hoping that, by initiating this community, we can make that path more clear to PhDs.
Mhm.
So talking about job titles, talking about, challenges that professionals like yourself have faced when transitioning from academia to non-academic jobs, especially the first role is very challenging, as you mentioned,
It
right?
is.
Because when you start building experiences and, a history, a professional history, job history, that becomes, easier and easier over time. But landing the first role, non-academic role, is extremely challenging to many people. I truly appreciate it. So, and we're gonna have these like weekly meetings and things like that where we can have conversations. People, I mean, members, PhDs can ask questions from experts. So we don't want to just lecture them, but we want to like share our understanding about this process, what we have gone through, during that transition, and we truly appreciate bringing in like experts like yourself, and thank you very much for being so generous with your time and sharing your expertise and experiences with our
My
audience.
pleasure. Thank you.
So is there anything that you would like to talk about and I didn't ask?
Oh no, actually, I think that's most of the thing that I was thinking about before joining this meeting to talk about them. Yeah, I mean, again, expanding I asked them to expand their network, get to know the companies related to their work if they're interested, and be ready because as I said, you spend your life at least for 4 years to doing research, not doing the industry project. So
Exactly.
don't expect them to appreciate those years by the companies. They will benefit from that definitely in the future, but at least for first couple of years, there is no appreciation from the companies. They want you
Mhm.
to learn how to work in industry, and after that, when you learn the language, then you can use your background from your PhD to work better or to bring some innovative ideas into industry. So be ready for that. Don't think that you are very highly uh, um,
Highly
uh,
educated or
highly, yeah, they don't think that they will reach out to you. You should reach out to
Mhm.
them. You should search. You should follow up. You should present yourself. Don't wait for them
Mhm.
to knock on your door. So, and also be open to changes and try to, be open to, especially to the senior engineers at your company because they at the end they want benefit for the company. So they advise you in a way to help you to promote faster. So some people
Mhm.
are having a guard to listen to some advice that, oh, come on, I'm a PhD holder. You have that. But yeah, you should be careful about that. And yeah, about the time, as I said, some people get a bit depressed because they say, okay, if I didn't do my PhD and I was starting work on industry after my master or even after my bachelor, I should have been a senior in this company by the age. But it's now I should after 4 years of spending time on PhD, now I'm a junior engineer. Don't go to that feeling. Everything gonna pass very soon, and because you have spent your life on different area and you have a lot of opportunities in the future in front of yourself, don't be depressed. So that's my end.
No, that's awesome. Actually, basically, you need to start somewhere, right? As you
Yes,
mentioned, so just holding a PhD degree doesn't qualify you
of
automatically
course.
for the job market. And exactly, so in this community, we're gonna talk about those things that you can't change the system, right? The academic system, it is what it is. The job
Mhm.
market, it is what it is. And these are systems that cannot be easily changed and haven't changed in decades, right? But
Exactly. Yes,
what can we can control as PhDs, as individuals, is us, right? What
of course.
can I do to stand out in the job market? What sort of like tools, techniques, both hard skills and soft skills can I learn to stand out in the crowd? Because there are thousands of us, right? And
Mhm.
the job positions are limited with the advent of AI and stuff like that. Massive layoffs, for example, that are happening left and right everywhere. So in every country right now. So you have to learn new skills and combine them in a creative way, right? It's not
Exactly.
just
Yes.
you have to have like this T-shaped, skills that you have like a core skill, but you know a little bit of some other things, which goes
Sure.
exactly in the direction that you mentioned. Learning new skills, yeah, software, and networking. communication, presentation, writing, and all the
Yeah,
things that you mentioned very accurately. Thank you very much, Amin.
no
So
worries.
truly appreciate your time and sharing your experience with us. Thank you.
Uh, I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me. Take care.
Thank you very much.